directly from secondary school to the workforce? And if you did,
Yeah.
how did you manage to, establish relationships in the workplace with your colleagues?
Yeah, I did. Excuse me. So I wanted to be a school teacher. That was another thing, John, in fifth year, which as you refer to as the first year of the Leaving Cert cycle. Transition year wasn't a thing back in the day, but we had first, second, third, then you did your junior cert. We had known as the inter back then.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
We did the inter. And then in our school, there was fourth, fifth, and sixth, which is fourth year was effectively what has become TY, transition year now. But by the time we got to fifth year, and I was a fully fledged Tibby at that stage, right? By the time I got to fifth year, I began to realize that I was having great fun. I had a great time in secondary. And I began to realize that my classmates were setting career goals and college aspirations, and were beginning to line up their Leaving Cert subjects to get the points or whatever it was back in the day to get into college. And I realized I didn't know what I wanted to be. So I decided in my wisdom that I wanted to be a school teacher, a primary school teacher. But the only reason, John, was short hours and long holidays. There was nothing about saving the planet or teaching the next generation. It was just, that seemed like an easy gig. And so I set about that. But I failed that even, right? Being that you needed an honour in Irish to get into teacher training college, and I didn't get the honour in Irish. Didn't put in the work. Let's call a spade a spade. And so when I'm Leaving Cert, and then in my Leaving Cert year, I developed a thing called glandular fever around Easter, March of that year. And I was very unwell, ended up in the hospital with it, and never went back to school. So I did my mock Leaving Cert. I don't think it was called the mocks back then, but anyway, whatever it was called, I did the mock Leaving Cert just before the Easter break, and then got sick and ended up in hospital, and I never went back to school. And I decided to do my Leaving Cert that year just for the practice, right? Didn't matter. So I went to do the Leaving Cert. Of course, that took all the pressure off in terms of exam results and whatnot. But I did okay, right? I was never an A student. I never wanted to be honest, right? Never an A student, but I got everything I wanted to get, certainly everything I deserved to get, including I didn't get the honour in Irish. But that didn't really thwart the plan, because I decided, okay, I go back and do Irish again at night. I'll get a job for a year, do Irish at night, add the points together, and go to teacher training college next year. That was the plan. This is the summer of 1980. And so I ended up getting a job. My dad was working with Green Isle Frozen Foods. I'm sure you know that brand around.
Yeah, of course.
And so he took me to work for a day with him, just to get me probably out from under my mother's feet. And we ended up in Cleary's department store. You'll remember that, John?
I do, yes.
Ended up in the restaurant on the third floor, a place called the Terrace Restaurant. And I was to meet my dad there. I actually had an interview in BHS across the road, British Home Stores, for the illustrious role of kitchen porter. Right. And I got offered a job, but start on the following Monday. But didn't I go across the road to meet my dad? It was the same day in Cleary's Terrace Restaurant. And he introduced me to the guy who owned the business that ran the restaurant there. And he says to me, he says, "You don't want to be a kitchen porter." He says, "I have a cashier leaving on Monday. You could start here instead if you like." Now, the pay was less, but I'll be honest and thought, sounds easier to be a cashier than a kitchen porter. I'll take less money, thank you very much. Right. Yeah, that started me off in a career, John, in catering, completely by accident. But are there any real accidents? I don't know. I believe I was meant to fall into that role. I love people, and I'm and I can get on with people. I've got reasonable social skills that, of course, have been honed over the years through my profession. But fundamentally, because I enjoyed the work, and the work was all about people, I got good at it. And because I got good at it, I got on in it, if that makes sense.
Of course, yeah.
And that led to a very rewarding career in hospitality. Spent 8 years with that particular company. We opened up in the ILAC Centre. You might remember that.
I do remember it, yeah.
Restaurant there called Fallon's on the Moore Street end, on a balcony above them now. I was there for some years. Then I took a job with Bewley's in cafes, and then looked general manager of Bewley's in Grafton Street in the mid-90s, for 4 years, which was a wonderful experience. So I went from leaving school at 17 to managing Bewley's in Grafton Street at age 28. I was very young for that role, but I'd worked hard. I'd learned a lot. I was confident and competent in what I did by that stage, and it has led to where we are now.
Yeah, I think what you're saying there, Colm, is you had the life skills to get people working around you effectively from an early stage, and that was a big bonus in your career progression, or to get people who could be good technical, at their jobs, but they lack those people skills to organise people around them. They're the people who kind of flounder, I suppose, in their careers, you could say.